What's up, everyone? Shakiel Mahjouri here for CBS Sports, and you know who this is. He is the UFC's number 2 ranked bantamweight contender, fighting Umar Nurmagomedov in the main event on Saturday. We anticipate a title shot on the horizon for the winner, Cory Sandhagen. How's it going, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It feels like it's been a bit of a long journey here. I feel like we've been talking about this moment in particular for a really long time. I'm happy we're finally seeing the fruits of that labor pay off. Before we get into the fight, how enthusiastic are you about your 12:30 a.m. roughly call time for the main event? At least you're not fighting at like 4 or 5 a.m. like Tom Aspinall and Leon Edwards were.
Hey, when you compare it to that, I'm cool with it. It's not bad. Actually, it makes the adjustment to the time a lot easier. Just being that if it were like at like a normal time, I would actually have more of a tough time adjusting to the time shift. So that worked out good. I'm going to bed around 3 a.m. here and then waking up around 1. So yeah, time acclimation's going good, and then fighting at 1 a.m. will be fine with me, just because as I'm going to bed late anyways.
I saw an interview you did with UFC.com, I think it was, and you mentioned it at how you were feeling a little beat up, putting in some overtime in preparation for this fight. I am curious, how do you make sure that you don't sort of like over fatigue or spread yourself too thin in an effort to sort of push yourself to that next level?
You ignore it. The work gets done when the work gets done. It's not a matter of hours. I've been doing it for a long time, so I kind of yeah, I know my body pretty well, and I know what it's capable of doing and what it's not. More than anything, though, this one was just a ton of overtime hours and having to learn how that style works, drill it a ton. Like I did so much drilling, so much live goes, had so many people fly in from out of town to come in and help me, and man, just it was definitely worked my ass off for this one, and but that's what you got to do to beat guys like this, and uh, man, but to not overdo it, I just do a really long taper. I just make sure that I taper the right way, and I push really hard through camp so that I can kind of enjoy that long taper and just let myself, come back to actually being a human being and not a half dead zombie.
I saw that you linked up with Trevor Wittman ahead of this one to help you sort of fine tune some of the elements of your striking. I'm curious because it's always a big decision when you decide to incorporate new teachings into what has generally been a very successful career. How do you make how? Tell me a little bit about Wittman's approach to fine tuning your striking skills without maybe doing too much to try and change the unique dynamic striker that you are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Trevor impressed me so much. He's a really good coach at working with his athletes, but he's really good at just highlighting what I already do really well. So I thought, it was going to be more of a conceptual understanding of how everything works. But man, his attention to detail is so incredible. And honestly, it's a piece that I'm not interested in any details. Like if you ask me like what someone's name is or what year something happened or the name of a song, I don't know any of those answers. I'm not a detail guy, but Trevor helped me really hone in those details of a lot of the footwork stuff, a lot of the punching stuff, just little things that were immediate overnight fixes, which just speaks to how good of a coach he was. Because man, I feel like I've gotten a lot better working with him, and I feel like he's just so dedicated, and yeah, he's great.
When we think about most fighters that have the last name Nurmagomedov or come from that camp, we think of that very dominant, pressure-heavy Dagestani wrestling. I know you and I have talked about him before, but I'm curious. What do you think people get wrong about Umar Nurmagomedov when they're sort of breaking him down on the surface level?
Good question. I think that I don't know. I guess I don't really know the opinions that people have about Umar, but I would say that just coming from that region, I think, of course, everyone expects you to be a really good grappler. I know that he was a little bit more involved with Muay Thai and kickboxing than he was just grappling, so he definitely has that part of his game. But I mean, the most unique thing about him is his striking style. His grappling is pretty, by the book, that Dagestani style, but the striking is really what kind of makes him different than those other guys, and just the type of techniques that he uses, the type of kicks that he uses. the mover type style that he uses. And yeah, that's kind of what makes him unique. But he's a really well-rounded guy.
How much of an opportunity do you see? Again, you mentioned his striking acumen. I feel like this is an interesting amalgamation of some of the styles that have given you difficulty in the past, whether that's the fight against Aljamain Sterling or maybe the power and boxing possessed by Petr Yan. How much of an opportunity do you see this for yourself to really test a lot of the elements of your game and make sure that you are ready to take that step towards becoming the UFC champion that a lot of people have predicted you would be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one when you're fighting a really well-rounded guy, you got to put in overtime hours and you got to you got to be really sharp and precise going into fights like this. So I think it's going to bring out the best performance out of me. I think that I'm better than I've ever been. And I think that, I've got some years under me now. So I've got the experience edge. And, while I do think it's going to be a tough fight, I think that I'm going to go home with the win. And this is definitely one that prepares me just equally well to fight either an O'Malley or Merab after this
Mm-hmm.
one, with Merab's grappling and then O'Malley's long striking style. Uh, I think that, Umar is kind of a version of these two put together in a sense. So I'm kind of preparing for the title fight at the same time that I get to take out a really well-rounded, undefeated Nurmagomedov, and that's exciting as hell, man. And I really just want to put on the best performance that I can, and I believe that I will.
I think the last time we talked is when you sort of put out that challenge to fight Umar, and there's people being like, Cory's a madman. Why is he fighting a guy way lower in the rankings than him? And then there's the people who are saying that Cory's a gamer. I do understand sort of the calculated decision to sort of punch your ticket to the title shot. What sort of assurances have you been given by the UFC that this is indeed a title eliminator?
I mean, Dana said it himself when he announced the fight that it was a number one contender fight. I think that that's all that I need. Is if the boss man says it, that's the case. And there's kind of no circumstance where this fight is boring in any sense. This is going to be one of the more exciting fights in the division of the year. So, I mean, I go out, I do my thing, I fight how I fight. I don't need to worry about anything else other than just getting that win. And man, it's going to be a real life modern day kung fu fight against this guy, and I'm excited for it.
I remember how disappointed you were after the Rob Font fight, but obviously you suffered an injury in that one. How much you apologized to the UFC? Dana said it really wasn't necessary. You kind of stepped in and did the best you could and saved the day. How comforting was that acknowledgement from him as it sort of pertained to how the UFC and Dana, I guess, perceives you as a top contender in this division, as someone who they can kind of trust?
Yeah, great. I mean, I was nervous as hell he was going to be pissed at me, I was nervous as hell about that. I was really glad that that's the framework that he chose to go with, and I think he's right, man. Like, you tear the tricep off your bone, it's not like it's a significant injury, maybe even more significant than breaking your hand. At least when you break your hand, you can still have power in your arm, but when you have like a floating muscle that's kind of an important muscle, you don't really you don't get the options. A lot of options get taken off the table. So that was really cool on him, and super comforting because, like I said, I thought he was going to be majorly not happy about that one. But
Well, you never know, right? Like, I saw, I was away for the weekend, so I'm just catching up on my 304 stuff. And like, he's like, never again am I increasing the post fight bonus limit after the 7 straight decisions I saw. So I'm glad you got him on the right side of the bed, so to speak. As we wrap up here, Sean O'Malley, Merab Dvalishvili at the Sphere. What would it take for you to accept a backfill slot for that fight if you beat Umar? And the UFC asks.
$1 million. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'll have to cross that bridge when I cross it. I'll have to see what they say too. They may want that. They may not want that. Um, I'll have to cross that bridge when it's time to, because I can say whatever now, but because everything's recorded, I got to be careful with what I say because I can't go
You're
back on.
you're becoming good at this, Cory.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So before I start giving my word out there, let me cross that bridge when it's time to cross that bridge.
I appreciate it. Last couple, I'll let you go here. I know you told John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, that you see this as a very tough fight for Merab, the one against Sean O'Malley. I was looking back on that UFC bantamweight rankings video that you and I filmed about a year ago. Still like one of the top 5 videos on my channel, by the way. We'll have to
Hey,
refilm it at some point. Yeah, there we go. Cory Sandhagen. The people tune out. I think at the time we had Sean O'Malley. You put Sean O'Malley around like 7. Of course, a lot has changed in 12 months. How impressed are you with how much Sean O'Malley has upgraded his game in the last 12 months or so?
yeah, I mean, it's real impressive. I think, yeah, I mean, he's doing all the right things. You can tell he's really dedicated to his craft. He doesn't go in and he's not the same version of himself. Him and his coaching staff definitely are doing a lot of the right things for sure. I see evolution in his game that is like the right step to make. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be. There's no doubt that he's going to be ready for the wrestling. Like that's not going to make it easy, but he will be ready for it. So, good on him for doing all those things. At the same time, though, like I kind of gotta acknowledge the fact too that he got the belt by having a really long time to get ready for one opponent against Aljamain Sterling. So he's definitely improving. He's had some advantages going into some of his fights too, but good on him. I mean, he knocked Sterling out. That's super awesome for him, and I was there, and it was inspiring, and it made me just want to train that much harder. So, yeah, I mean, he's doing all the right things. He's number 1 in the world right now. You can't really deny him.
100%. Last thing, another video that really blew up on the channel was your praise for Ilia Topuria. You described him as basically a near perfect fighter. I feel like there's actually a lot of enthusiasm for Max Holloway's chances in this rumored fight for 308. Could I just very quickly get a preview, prediction, breakdown of Topuria versus Holloway from you to send us home?
Yeah, I love Max Holloway. I've been such a giant, like, huge fan of Max Holloway as a person and as a fighter. So it's hard for me to root against him. But that being said, I think that Ilia's ability to maintain position and control space in the way that he does with like the body frame that he has, which is very tailored towards anti-wrestling and for offensive wrestling, if he chooses to do that, is just, I mean, you can't craft someone better than that, maybe except for Alex Pereira, who just has like superhuman punching powers. So at 145, I think that Ilia is one of the best guys, one of the best champs. I think that he's going to unfortunately beat Max Holloway because I love Max Holloway, but I think that that's the way that I see the fight going. I mean, Max can pick and poke at him all that he wants, but usually guys that strike with a very close guard aren't able to control space and maintain space and get picked at a lot. But Ilia doesn't have that happen to him because he has really good footwork in, out, left, and right. So Ilia, I mean, he's just such a good fighter, man. He's going to be a tough guy to beat for the entire division for a really long time. And he kind of has that build where he can go up and weight uh, and do well, I think, at 55 even.
Cory, hopefully UFC bantamweight title shot on the way for you first. You got to knock Umar Nurmagomedov out of that conversation. If there's anything you want to tell the people, man, the floor is yours.
Nope, that's it. Peace. Watch the fight. ABC. Don't know what time. I think 12 o'clock, noon Pacific time is what they told me. So check it out, guys. Make sure that you guys are tuning in. It's going to be a good one.